Start my recordings. Perfect. Give me 1 second, everyone. The technology doesn't always work like you want it to, huh? All right, good morning, and video on. There you go. Good morning and welcome to the David's Deep Dive. This is our weekly deep dive where I break down topics that are very, very important to you as a business owner, as a person, that can help to develop you and the skills that are needed today, absolutely needed today to succeed in the marketplace. So today's topic is a very interesting one. So today we're going to be talking about virtual leadership. Now, virtual leadership is really going to tie into how do you lead a team virtually in today's world, as things have evolved and changed over the last 18 to 20 months, as we have now seen the impact of the coronavirus on our economy, as well as how it pertains to the businesses that we operate today and the businesses we actually we patronize, the people that we shop with. And if you guys can hear me, by the way, please comment below. I'd love to hear that you guys can hear me and everything is good. So virtual leadership is really how do you lead a team virtually? And many people today are on this path of, this path of trying to figure out how they're going to continue to do business and how they're going to continue to grow when a workforce that we traditionally have has now subsided. There is now a shortage of people looking for work. There's a shortage of people looking to grow, and a lot more of our society fearful of the consequences of returning back to work, which is kind of silly to me. But again, this is just how it is, right? I can't change people. I can only change me. And so in that type of environment, what do? So we got to talk about virtual teams. So my name is David A. Perez. I'm the CEO of a company called the DAP Strategy. DAP Strategy is a group of companies that are formed together to put together the pieces that really are important to you. So we help protect the things that you love and care about the most, your money. We work with your taxes, insurance, your mortgage lending, things that are just important to helping to put together a whole picture approach to your success. So I'm going to talk about my remote journey real quick, because you see, I believe that remote work, regardless of, regardless of when pandemics occur or things have happened in the past, I think remote work is a necessary evil today. I think more so than ever, the pandemic has taught us that people can work virtually and it can work. You see, I think before pandemic, before the COVID, scare of the world, I think a lot of people thought about, hey, maybe people could work from home, or maybe I could outsource to somebody, that lives 1,000 miles away, or somebody who lives at 10,000 miles away. I think people thought that, but they were too scared. They were like, would it work? Can it work? What if this? What if that? What's going on? Like, I think that was a big mindset that people had. It was a restrictive, limiting belief that many of us had. And I was there at one point. And, in about 2017, I realized that where I was geographically was it was a hard thing to deal with. Let me explain. So I live in a deep area of South Texas, very deep South Texas. In fact, we're very close to the southern border. And that county that we're in is called Cameron, but the area is called the Rio Grande Valley. And the Rio Grande Valley actually encompasses, in the top 5 poorest counties in the country, we have 2 of them in the country, okay? And all of them will come in top, let's say, 10. So we're in a very impoverished, poor area. The median income is about $30,000 or less. It is a very difficult scenario for many people to make money. And a lot of that really ties back down to a education system and a society and a community that doesn't promote the building of skills. And this is not to degrade or diminish the people that live here, because I live here, but the skills that are needed to be successful in life are just not taught here. They're just not. You go to a school district, you go to the college, you go to universities, they're just not teaching people the skills to be successful. And maybe that happens everywhere in the country, but here specifically, and you can see it in the labor or the job force, you could just see it. Many of the employees or team members that we have locally today have skills, and those skills have been built here in our organization. A lot of them came without skill. And that is really good to understand, because if you are feeling that same pressure, right, of getting unskilled labor, then you must understand that maybe you need to start looking outside of your community. And that's what I did. You see, there were certain things that I knew that I couldn't find locally that didn't necessarily need to be in person. And so in 2017, I started to look out for areas or countries or regions or just people that could work remotely. And I found that. I found that in different countries where I could maybe outsource some of the daily tasks that we didn't have necessarily to have somebody physically working, some of the administrative things, calendar scheduling, and we'll call it data entry, and, travel and email response and customer inquiries, and, calendar reminders, and, all these little things that just really were things that I didn't necessarily need to deal with. And if I tried to outsource somebody here or try to hire somebody here to do it, honestly, maybe it wouldn't get done right. And then, they didn't really need to be present. And so it started to be this evolution for me. And in 2017 is when we first hired our first remote staff. And then it's just kind of evolved. Today, we operate a very large remote team of people here in the States and outside of the States that have actually worked with us for several years, who are really true team members who have been part of our journey and really hopefully become cemented, if you will, in our company's growth for generations. Literally, I mean, generations is a big word, but we'll call it years and years to come. And I mean that wholeheartedly, because I personally kind of work remote. It's kind of a funny thing, even though my office is about 5 minutes or less from where I am at today. I typically work from home. And I work from home because I just enjoy it. And I know many of our staff actually do that too. And it's really important to understand that you don't necessarily have to be at an office every day in order to get things done. Now, some people may have to because they have customer interaction, they're in a retail environment, and there's nothing wrong with it. I'm just telling you guys that you can always offload some of the things that are required, that are administrative, that are things that don't necessarily mean that you have to encounter with a customer. This can be outsourced. So this has been my journey for years. So who is this for? Real quick, it's anybody who wants to leverage the ability to get people to help you, to assist you, to help your company grow, that are not necessarily in person. That's virtual, right? This is an entrepreneur, a business owner. This could be a manager, a leader in a company, an organization leader, churches, things like of that nature. They can all benefit from this. So the benefits of outsourcing and going virtual. So let's talk about that. The benefits, obviously, time. You see, if and time can equal also space. So let's think about this, right? So time is, if I can have somebody else help me do the things that I need to get done every day, I multiply my activities by 2. Okay, number one. Number 2, space. So currently, pre-pandemic, I bought a large building. We had 7,000 square feet of office space, which we inhabited pretty well, meaning we had a bunch of people working there. And over the last year and a half, we have downsized. I mean, literally, we probably take up 2,000 square feet of that building. And that's not a bad thing, but space is something that maybe you're limited to. So if I didn't have all the space, virtual would make a lot more sense. Everybody could work from home. People could work from abroad, whatever. And so there's no space that's needed in your office anymore. You actually save space, you save overhead, you save time. There's so many benefits to outsourcing that I can't even, I can't explain how much it's benefited us. So here's some of the things that you need to think about. People that want to benefit from this is virtual teams are important to build. Outsourcing is a necessity. Remote workers are people that can work remotely, just same concept. And multi-unit operators, if you're a multi-unit operator, in some cases, even if it's retail, you definitely need some sort of outsourcing. So here are the fundamentals of what you need to build an outsourced team or a virtual team, whichever you want to call it. I call outsourcing is the activity of sending something somewhere else to be done. And virtual means where they're doing it, right? Virtually. So virtual teams are outsourced, okay? So culture is the number one thing you must have in your organization before you can consider outsourcing, before you can consider virtual. See, this is the challenge for most people. I've heard horror stories where people start outsourcing to, they hire a virtual assistant in, the Philippines or India or in Nicaragua or Venezuela or Mexico, or they hire people virtually everywhere, right? Or even in their local community. I mean, it doesn't matter, wherever you hire. The challenge that you face when you hire somebody virtually is that they have to fit into your team. And if you don't have a team, this may be a problem too. Then they have to fit in with who your culture is individually. So if you're a one-man show or a one-woman show, then the culture must be there. So here's some thoughts, right? So you see, I believe people don't stay with companies that they don't believe in, and I don't believe they fire or quit from a company. They quit the leadership, right? I believe people quit managers. They quit leaders. They don't quit companies. And so when you see people who try to attract talent to their organization, regardless if it's in person or virtual, the one thing people are looking for is an environment that promotes growth, that is organized. That's got to be number one, by the way. Organized, that promotes growth, that looks to foster the growth of people is really what it comes down to. That has a good attitude and has constant communication, that they feel they're engaged. These are things, they have to be engaged. They have to be constantly communicated, fostered, growth, and organized. If I had to write those down real quick, that's what I'd write down. You see, these are the things that you must possess prior to outsourcing, prior to going virtual. If you want to send all your team home from your office and say, look, we don't need to be here anymore, let's all work from home. Okay. But if you had a poor culture already, if you were disorganized, if you didn't have an attitude of growth, if you were just had a poor attitude, if you just didn't do the right things, when people go home, they're going to be who they used to be. So for an example, if people are lazy at work right now and you sent them home to work, they're going to be even lazier. So a culture of accountability, which we're going to talk about, a culture of getting the job done, a culture of timeliness, a culture of, you see what I'm saying? The culture is how people or how your team members perceive the environment of a business. Culture is how people perceive the environment of a business. And so when you think about how your culture is, how do you get your culture to mean something to your team so that when they do go home or when they do work abroad or when you outsource to a different country, how do they feel that they're part of this? Do they feel like they work in a company that cares about them, that is organized, that has constant communication, and it fosters their growth? And if they don't, well, then you shouldn't outsource, you shouldn't go virtual, because what's going to happen is you're going to be frustrated all the time because people don't get the job done. People don't show up on time. You don't know if they're actually working and blah, blah, blah. Now, there's no perfect to this, by the way. Culture is how you perceive or how you want people to perceive your company. And that's the definition of you defining that, okay? Number two, communication. I talked about communication a lot, but when you go virtual, here's what you need to know. Communication is more important than ever. You see, if you thought that having a company meeting once a week or every other week or once a month in person is cool, and you thought that was enough, I'm here to tell you, when you go virtual, you're going to need to have meetings every day. You're going to need to have meetings and communication channels that are sparked on an hourly basis. Now, that sounds a little extreme, but you have to understand that today's attention span is what? Less than 7 seconds? Like if I say one thing, I bet you if I just looked through the screen at each one of you right now, and we've been going for 14 minutes, I bet you 6 of those minutes you have looked somewhere else. You have gone to another browser, you've looked on your phone, you've responded to a message, you've checked your chats, you've boom, 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 all these things hit you all day, right? Like, I mean, honestly, man, I picked up my phone once during this meeting because somebody messaged me. So I know your attention's gone, right? So imagine if you have a team that's totally working from home, you never see them, you don't know what they're doing. If you're not constantly communicating with them, hey, what's going on? How are you doing? What's the deliverable? What's the timeline on this? How can we work on this? Hey, I need this. They need that. Let's get this going. Boom, boom, boom. And here are the deliverables. Here's the timeline. Here's the assignments. You see what I'm saying? Like, if you're not doing this every single day, what happens is you are going to lose a team. So communication, number 2. All right, number 3, accountability. Now, this is the biggest challenge that I think even I face a lot, is how do you hold people accountable virtually, right? Well, hopefully they appreciate their job well enough and they respect you well enough and the company that they enjoy working for well enough that they'll get the job done anyways, because not because they are fearful of loss of job or reprimand, that they are really fearful of not fulfilling their end of the bargain. This is an important thing to me because, you see, I believe I show up every day for my team, and I hope my team shows up for me. Like, that is a true statement. When I think about leadership by definition, my leadership is not tied to me being a good communicator or being a good facilitator or having funds to pay people or the ability to train. Like, all that is cute and it's all good, but my leadership skills really revolve around me showing up for other people. You see, if I can be a good leader to my team, that means they can depend on me. They can count on me, right? It's the sheer definition that leaders are somebody who can be dependent upon. And when I knew that, when I learned that many years ago, today the accountability goes both ways. You do your job, I do my job, right? I don't just disappear. I don't just say, hey guys, get the job done. I'll see you later. I'm going to go play golf. First off, I hate golf. I don't have any hobbies. And you know why? And this isn't to diminish, degrade, or anybody who's watching this. Let me just tell you something. I don't have time for hobbies, right? I'm in the pursuit of something, and my team better see that. I'm in the pursuit of something. And you know what that is? It's my potential. See, I'm not here to be casual about life. I'm here to produce something, an outcome. And if I get casual, if I get hobbies, what happens? My company doesn't produce its potential. And because of that, it impacts everybody, not just me, it impacts everybody. You see, if I don't show up and people don't do their job, we may not be able to make sales. If we don't make sales, what happens? Then our revenue drops. If our revenue drops, then people lose their job. You see, it's all impacted to me. So every day and every way I show up, and I show up at a high level, I mean, as much as I can, as often as I can, at the energy levels that I can, but I deliver and I deliver and I deliver, because at the end of the day, the accountability of a virtual team is really how accountable I am to them. Now, resources. Now, I want to talk about this because, you know, resources could be so many things, but let me add some resources that are really important in a virtual environment. If you think that resources just revolve around money and time, those are just the main ones. But here's some thoughts, right? To be resourceful in the world of virtual is really to be able to provide tools to your team that can make them successful, or none. Nothing can make anybody successful. Let me restate that. To foster the growth of someone. So here's what I've learned. There are going to be many tools that you're going to need to possess, right? You're going to have the ability to email and the ability to edit documents and the ability to scan, fax, make phone calls, receive phone calls, text messages, postings, so on and so forth. And there's a lot that goes into this. It's not just like, here's my email and, you know, here's some things and have fun. Like, people need to have the resources, and those resources need to ever evolve. You know, through the changing of the landscape of outsourcing and virtual environments over this last 18 months, things have changed. You know, Zoom has been the number one thing for people to use, or some sort of web video communication. Things of that nature have really changed for us. That's a necessity. Video conferencing, teleconferencing, the ability to facilitate meetings abroad. I mean, this is kind of crazy, right? I mean, all of these things have really impacted the way we do business today, and you didn't even know it. So how many meetings have you been on that are virtual today? How many meetings have you at summits or classrooms or trainings have gone on in the last 18 months that have all been virtual? And that's a good percentage of them. So you have to have the right technology, you have to have the right resources, not just time and money. So I thought I had another slide here, but does anybody have any questions before I continue? Because I have a few stories to share, but does anybody have any questions? Let me go up here and see it in the chats. Roles and goals, expectations have to be crystal clear. Yes. So everything in expectations, everything needs to be crystal clear in anything you do. But let me go above and beyond that. So I like to tell everybody, so in a traditional organization, and I call it traditional because if I look back on the years of being in different businesses and evolving my own business and all those things, you know, if you read any book, it's like, today, you know, in business, you have to be super clear on your objectives, like in a department, and then each individual needs to have a job description, and then that job description needs to detail everything that there's expected of them, and those expectations, and then their goals and all. And yes, all of that is 100% true. In a virtual environment, it's more important than ever. But here's one thing I've always said, and I will continue to harp it and scream it off the top of my lungs because it's the most important thing you should tell each and every person on your team, virtual or in person. We are in a growing business, and every growing business has to evolve its skill sets. And because of that, we are in a whatever it takes type of environment. And so whatever's not listed on that job description, whatever's not listed in those obligations, duties, responsibilities, just know if it's not listed, that doesn't mean you don't do it, because we do whatever it takes around here to succeed. That's our organization, that's our mantra, and that's how we live. Now, you have to say that very sternly and very comfortably, because if you can't, there you go. Because if you don't, what happens, guys? If you don't say those things in the right manner, in the right tone, in the right world, what happens, right? GSD? What's GSD stand? I don't remember that one, Stace. I see your comment. But here's what I will tell you. I have, what is it? It stands for get, I'll say that, get shit done is what, that's exactly what I mean when I tell people that, by the way, Stacy. And by the way, in an organization that's ever growing, expanding, and trying to change the world, things are just going to happen, right? And life's gonna hit you, especially virtually. And the good thing about being virtual, to be honest with you, is if you have a team that's in, let's say San Benito, Texas, like I am, and you have a team that's in, the Philippines, and you got a team in Dallas, and you got a team in, Nashville, and you got a team in North Carolina, and you have a team in California. You see, there's redundancy here that continues to push itself. So for an example, what time zones, right? So if I can operate between the hours of Central Time and somebody else can operate in Pacific, and then Eastern, and then Mountain, and then, in other countries overnight, all of these things really work in a virtual environment. You can have 24-hour customer service. You can also, in the event that there's a natural disaster in one specific area, there's always other people who can continue to pursue whatever the company objective and mission is. These are the things about virtual that I really enjoy, and I think it's something that everybody should be doing. Now, I usually, would tell you here, hey, look, guys, there's an opportunity for you to do X, Y, Z with me, but let me tell you something. I've been doing this for going on 4 years now, over 4 years now, I think it is. And I built a very big team. In fact, I'll just be clear, we're probably 30 people deep at this point virtually who work for us. And it's been a hell of a ride. And I think in building your own economy, honestly, guys, this is part of it for me. It's the ability to do business anywhere at any time with anyone, to hire, to work with, to train, to build companies that are virtual, that don't exist in a facility, that can exist only online, that can perpetuate revenue, perpetuate success, perpetuate advancement and growth for the people inside of it by the collective, if you will, of accumulated skill sets that we can possess because we work abroad, because we work around the world, because we work around the clock. You see, if you just focus on one area and you want to hire in that area, I'm telling you, you're never going to get the skills that you really want. I know that from firsthand experience where I'm at. You see, that's why if you go to these major cities, New York, Dallas, LA, Chicago, Houston, if you see some of the biggest job offers, 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 starting salaries, the reason that they're in those big cities is because that's where the talent goes. All the talent and the skills go there. And then there's this small group of elite individuals who say, I don't need to go there anymore. I can work virtually. I can work from home. I don't have to be in Dallas, Texas to be able to make money. I don't have to be in, Houston to do this X, Y, and Z. I can do it from home. And there are companies today, big companies, who are starting to realize that virtual is the way to go. Most of the companies that you deal with, either retail or service or product based, most of them have facilities in other countries today outsourcing. Microsoft does it, Intel does it, Best Buy does it. Any company today, you would know, Netflix, Amazon. There is not one company that you probably don't know that has an outsourced center somewhere else. Now, some of these do it for economics, but I'm here to tell you they're probably doing it because of skills. To find people who like to work and actually get the job done is very hard today. Sorry to say that, but most of you aren't those people because you're on here. But there are a lot of people that today that, couldn't chew bubble gum and walk at the same time. And that's not necessarily a skill. So, all right. So any other questions? Because this is a good topic. You got a good question, please put it here, and then I'll tell you how I can help you. All right. While we're waiting for questions, if there are any questions, let me add this one thing to you so we can end today, okay? Last thing here. If you're interested in outsourcing, looking for that, formula, we're building a course on this, how to outsource, how to find the right people, and how to put a team together that is virtual. If you're looking to do that, I can actually help you. Please reach out to me at david@perez.com or david@david.perez.com email, and let's talk. Maybe we can help you. Maybe we can find you somebody. Maybe we can teach you. We're building out a course. It is going to be inside of our exclusive online academy, Start Your Path to Freedom. I'll have an outsourcing section, and you'll be able to go in there step by step, how to find people, how to find the right people, how to attract them, how to hire them, how to train them, how to develop them, how to compensate them, how to build them, and what you can delegate, what you can't. All those things will be there. So this is the end of our training for this week. 26 minutes in. I felt like it was longer, but I really appreciate you guys watching. Outsourcing is the way of the future. It's been that way for a lot of big companies for many years. We're just really touching the surface. They've been figuring this out for years. And so if you intend to scale, grow, or become something great in this world and business, I think this is the right way to do it. So we appreciate each and every one of you for watching this. And you know what, before I leave, let me just say this last thing. You outsource for skills, but I'll tell you that the people that have always worked in our companies, who have always done things with us, I promise you have been some of the greatest people I've ever met. It's probably the one thing I don't say enough about, but I'll tell you that. So you don't want to discredit anybody who's working remotely or virtually or even in another country, because the honest truth is a lot of these people are just not just skilled, they're great people. So you get the interaction, the growth, that always happens. So if you're looking to do this and you want to meet some great people, some friends that you could probably call for life, teammates that you could be teammates forever, it's the time to go for it. So appreciate you guys. You have a fantastic and amazing Tuesday, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.